Uh, Hello, and welcome to this presentation I have made about the Paranormal Singles in My Singing Monsters. I'm going to be going over the general design philosophy that I believe each of the four of them follow and have concerning their major and minor forms. So, first of all, to start off, we're going to talk about how these guys are designed, and by these guys I mean the single elementals in particular. They've got very simple and digestible designs. There's not like a whole lot happening with them. I guess the idea of their theme across, so like what element they represent and what they're about, and there's no real tricks. They have readable animations and models, so like what you see is what you get. You're able to very clearly tell what they're about. So like for example, Mammoth, obviously, is this huge Sasquatch-looking guy with the white fur and stuff like that. Like you can obviously associate all of these traits with the element of cold, the theme of cold. Kana, second example, very much the same thing. Volcano head. You got like ember body and like charred hands and feet. Obviously fire elemental. And then Geo down there at the bottom, like literally made up of jewels. So obviously it's psychic. No, it's crystal. Obviously it's crystal. What else could be but crystal? So I'm going to talk a bit about paranormal classes. They are defined pretty primarily by having two different forms between major and minor. You can see in this graphic here, we have majors on the left and we have minors on the right. The major forms are friendly, warm, lively. Animations are lively, and just in general, everything about these guys is a lot more positive and inviting than the minor forms, which are on the right there. They're a bit more demonic, you could say, cold, unsettling, and they're basically just opposites of the major forms. Major forms are like happy-go-lucky, they're pretty inviting and stuff, and the minor forms are anything but that, basically. So it creates an interesting dichotomy, an interesting parallel between the two different forms of the same monster. So, um, the major design philosophy that I have sort of like marked out for these guys is called major has, minor has no. Um, it's illustrated with it's this stupid meme that I has been floated around the internet. Cereal when no milk, and then cereal when halves milk. It's basically what I'm implying. It's basically what I'm applying for the paranormal. So what do I mean by this? Well, I'm just gonna dive right in and tell you guys how each one of these guys fits in. So first of all, Harionette. We are going to look at Harionette major and then Harriet minor. So Harriet major, it scurries around on the bottommost hands. The threads are made to look like a hairdo on its head. Its crossed limbs are meant to remind of marionette control bars, which you can see in the symbol up in the top right. So you can see that Harionette, you could imagine it being able to control other things with its hands. So I would say that major Harionette has control. Now minor Harionette is different because they are suspended in the air by strings, like a puppet, bedraggled hair in the back, contrasting to the sort of like hairdo it has in its major form, and it looks like an old decrepit wooden puppet. So it's got all the like minor paranormal markings of being weird and demonic, but I also would say that it doesn't have any control. Like debatably, like you could say that the major has control and the minor has no control, and that is the theme that each of these paranormal singles will share. And we can see that quite well with our next example being Owlesque, my personal favorite. Um, Now, Owlesque is the element of hoax. So, how does Major Owlesque have hoax, and how does Minor Owlesque have no hoax? Well, if we look at Major Owlesque, the eyes evoke eye butterfly imagery. Is that kind of butterfly that looks like it has eyes on the back to like ward off predators and whatnot. The giant nose slash beak is covered in feathers, so it's like covering something which we know in the minor form to be its like true corporeal eye. And its claws are seemingly also made of pipes down there, like the little feet that it like dances on. It seems to be made of the same material as the pipes coming out of its head. So obviously this guy has a lot that it's trying to cover up, which is why we say it does have hoax, so to speak. And now minor Owlesque is obviously like the true version of this monster or whatever. It's the faux eyes are revealed to be hands that come out and attack the pipes at the bottom. The lump it has in the middle of its face is now an eye. The horns have become like antlers and the source of like the clarinet sound for the minor form. And the said clarinet sound actually sounds a lot more beastly and more wild, which is kind of like a translation of it trying to like reveal its true form. Like it's more animalistic and I guess kind of ugly form in a way. Um, but in this way, we know that basically Owlesque has nothing to hide in this form. This is his true self, and that's why we say that it has no hoax. Now, um, I'm not entirely sure if this like theory or whatever was passed along or like was formulated by other people at this time, but if there's one thing that probably shut it down, it was Arcornia. So we're gonna talk about Arcornia for a second. The ruined paranormal. So upon its release, it was presumed dead in the water because it just looked like there was no way you could apply the aspect of ruin to major paranormal and the aspect of or the prospect of not having ruin to the minor paranormal. As you can see, I've got in that graphic down there, just they have it backwards, and it's like major Arcornia clearly has no ruin, and minor Arcornia clearly does have ruin. So um, well, what do we do about this? Do we just say the theory is dead and we move on? That's what some people did, but for me, I decided to reframe what the understanding of ruin meant. So instead of thinking that ruin was supposed to imply like a state of ruin, I interpreted it as ruin being has the potential to be ruined. So now how does that work out? Well, we're going to take a look with Arcornia. Um, the major form, obviously, absolutely pristine condition. Lighthouse beam scans around effortlessly, and it sounds very light and airy. So this is like the prime of this monster. Like this is peak performance Arcornia. So we can say that major Arcornia has the potential to be ruined. It's a stretch, but just bear with me here. Minor paranormal or the minor Arcornia, completely dilapidated. It's got faint candlelight instead of like a lighthouse beam that searches about, and it sounds a lot more grounded than major Arcornia. Like major Arcornia, if you listen to it, it's very light and airy, and it almost seems distant in a way, whereas minor Arcornia feels a lot more grounded and like it actually feels like the sound is taking place in like a cave type location, which we know Bone Island to reside in. So in this way, I would say minor Arcornia has no potential to be ruined because it's already ruined. It's a bit of a stretch, but it's what makes the theory works, and we're just gonna stick with that. Now, finally, moving on to the most recent example, the most newest example, Shimmer. This cute little fucked up creature. So the main color of major Shimmer is like a deep purple and black, and that's supposed to evoke thoughts of like deep space imagery or like the deep depths, because the depths element seems to be all about just like general unknowns, whether it be in space or like in the ocean. That idea of depths. The animations for Major Shimmer are also really ambiguous. There's nothing to really gain from the way it like shifts around weirdly, and it's like you can't really get anything from that. And talking more specifically about its design, it has its mouth up front while the eye is in the back. And putting the mouth up front, that's where the sound comes from, but all the spectacle of seeing the eye portal is behind that. So it's not what you would immediately focus your attention to if you were standing face to face with this monster. In this way, I would say that Major Shimmer has the depth because it's a lot. It feels like there's a lot to this monster design wise that you just aren't entirely sure about upon first encountering it. Now, Minor Shimmer is completely different. It is mainly crimson with cyan highlights, so a lot more visual than Major Shimmer. The animation suggests that it's nervous and or skitterish. You can see when it's playing it, like sort of it does the like pointing its fingers together, like kind of in a shy way. It looks around kind of meekly as it like takes steps back and forth. And has the eye in the front and the spectacle, or it has the eye in the front and the mouth in the back. So the thing making the sound is in the back, but you can see the spectacle of the eye doing the weird hexagonal portal thing up front and close. Like you can see that's right there. So in this way, I would say that Minor Shimmer has no depth because everything is like revealed, and depth here meaning that like about unknowns. So Major Shimmer has a lot unknown about it, and Minor Shimmer has no unknown about it. So where does this leave the paranormal hybrids? As of the time of writing this, or recording this, 10/27/2025, the paranormal hybrids do not have minor forms, which is interesting. Though they should be getting them soon, probably because this Wednesday we should be expecting Minor Paranormal Island, given how it was teased in Spooktacle 2025's Monster Island short. And another interesting thing is that the paranormals each have like the way they're described in their bios isn't like the control hoax elemental or the hoax ruin elemental. They're called a specific descriptor paranormal. So like Scallyrags is the rascal paranormal. Dactyl is the bombast paranormal. So could these descriptors apply to our major has, minor has no idea? Well, we can take a look and see what that might be. So we're gonna start with the Rascal Paranormal Scallyrags here. So it's definitely meant to evoke the three kids in a trench coat design stereotype, like you see in movies and stuff like that. Kids want to go see like an R-rated movie, so they're gonna stack together in a trench coat, which one kid's head's at the top, but they don't see the two other kid heads within the body. You know what I'm talking about. So maybe its minor form could unmask the three little gremlins within and show us who they really are, because I think in the animations you can see three different colored eyes peeking out from within the trench coat, quote unquote. So that seems like a really easy one. Moving on to the Bombast Paranormal Dactyl, my personal favorite of the hybrids. You already know everything about Major Dactyl's design, their animations. We know everything about it. So perhaps in the minor form, it isn't as lively and performs more slowly, thereby having no bombast, and it could be like the like I don't want to say diseased, but like the discolored arm, like that could be the color palette for minor dactyl, and it could just reflect how like slow and tired it's moving. A friend of mine actually has posited that the arms could come off of dactyl and sort of like beat around the body for being exerted so much in its major form, perhaps, and that's how the sound is made. It could be an interesting idea. Um, and then we have the Psychoparanormal Germ, our only triple element paranormal as of now. In its animations, in its major animations, it is seen populating the ground with the spores or the cells, whatever it is, little flying things that like dissipate into the ground. And knowing that it's a cycle paranormal and his bio talks a lot about just like I guess the kind of like futility of like what it does. I would guess that the minor form could be like like the germ itself, referring to the monster, is like on the ground and all kind of like I don't want to say decaying because that feels way too dark for my singing monsters, but just on the ground and just laying there while whatever it has planted into the ground in its major form has like sprouted out and is like maybe making like baby germs or something. But they're able to produce the music instead of the germ itself propagating the ground with those little spinny things or whatever. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure how that ties into the concept of having no cycle, because that would imply that maybe the cycle breaks, but that doesn't entirely make sense unless they somehow make it work. But yeah, I don't know. That's just my general thoughts on what the minor forms could be for this motley trio we have here. So, final thoughts. Again, these are my own observations. It could very well be that this was never intended by the monster handlers, and I'm making connections where there aren't any. Again, Arcornia is a bit of a stretch. You really have to like you gotta you have to go through a lot of mental gymnastics to make it work. But I still kind of believe in it personally. Um, we still don't really know a lot about these guys. Like these are still relatively new within the monster world. Harionette came out December of last year, so just about 9-10 months for these guys, and we're only now starting to learn a bit more about them. So hopefully, come Wednesday when we get Minor Paranormal Island, we should understand a bit more what they're about and like the design stuff. I'm sure seeing the minor hybrids will be really interesting. And I'm just excited to see how more hybrids shake out in the future. I always love seeing the the designs and just the personality they're able to imbue with new monsters. So whether it be major or minor, I'll be excited to see how they shake up regardless. And before we end, I just want to give a special thanks to the My Singing Monsters Wiki and the fan kit for the various images used throughout the presentation, as well as I think just general information about the paranormal designs and whatnot. I also want to thank Palindrome, a good friend of mine who I have been in contact with for a good couple of months about My Singing Monsters. Some of his consultations about designs I throw into here, especially the one about Dactyl. That's the friend I mentioned. So thank you for the good old conversations, mainly about paranormals over the past couple of months. I also want to thank my grandma for the wonderful microphone that I'm using just now. Yep, I finally got it out of the box, and it's working really great. So thank you very much. And lastly, I want to thank you, the listener, for listening to me ramble because this is the first time I'm doing something like this, and I've already run into some technical troubles with apparently the software I'm using you can only record it for like 10 minutes before it's like, all right, buy the free version or the full version now or whatever. So I had to split this into two parts. Hopefully that's not obvious. I don't know. I just wanted to get this out there before Minor Carnival comes out because that would be kind of, I would have to do it all over again because we would probably get the minor forms of the hybrids. You know what that would be. You know what that is. So once again, thank you for listening to me. Maybe in the future I will do more stuff like this where I just talk about my singing monsters like this. I don't know. We'll see how it shakes out. But essentially that is it. Um, yeah. Have a good day.